Good Tuesday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world, here on the I Love CVille Network. Thank you kindly for joining us, the Tuesday edition of this show on 2/22/22. Absolutely jam-packed. Here's a snapshot on what we're going to cover. We have vacancy reports from the Charlottesville Office of Economic Development. We're going to spotlight for you. And if you could get the rundown on screen for us on the one-shots, please, Judah Wickower, our director. We'll cover these vacancy reports from a downtown mall standpoint and a Barracks Road focus first. We'll give you an idea of how vacancies have trended upward or downward since the pandemic and over the months that have matured during this pandemic. So we'll spotlight vacancies, who's filling up which empty storefronts on today's edition of the I Love CVille Show. A couple of weeks ago, Lloyd Snook joined us on the program, and Mayor Lloyd Snook said that there was a positive turn of events or something in the works for the Dewberry Hotel, the White Elephant of Charlottesville, owned by the extorting emperor of empty lots, John Dewberry, raised in Waynesboro, quarterback for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, now a real estate developer, air quotes around that phrase. We have an update for you today, including photos to show you of the Dewberry Hotel. That coming up in minutes. Boyd Tinsley, former musician, Dave Matthews Band, tennis aficionado, influencer and stakeholder in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, has published 2 social media posts today. He last posted on social media, Boyd Tinsley, in July of 2020. So it has been some time since he's posted, July 9th of 2020 to be exact. Tinsley today, about 2 hours ago, a long post detailing his side of multiple lawsuits that he's embroiled with, multiple lawsuits of monetary nature, embezzling nature, and unfortunately of sexual harassment and sexual exploitation in nature. We will recap these posts for you that are now going viral. Yes, Boyd Tinsley, arguably the second most recognizable individual of the Dave Matthews Band, one of the founding members of DMB. That story for you in minutes. Also coming up on this program, a President's Day weekend, 3-day weekend behind us, an update on air travel numbers. Air travel went bananas with people in this country flying everywhere as COVID confidence continues to thrive in our country. We'll give you an idea of air travel over the President's Day weekend and how it's compared to past weekends during the pandemic. Furthermore, another storyline I'd like to bring to you. Yes, you're about to hear me correctly. There is a Portuguese circus coming to Fashion Scare Mall. You heard me correctly. A Portuguese circus coming to Fashion Scare Mall. That story, plus the Russia-Ukraine debacle and how it's influencing the stock market with our good friend Alex Urpí, the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. A lot to cover. Giddy up and get ready. Skooma Boutique Dispensary, a presenting sponsor of this show. The best dispensary in Charlottesville is Skooma Boutique Dispensary on the Charlottesville Downtown Mall next to Rapture Restaurant. Skooma Boutique Dispensary, certificates of analyses for everything in the store. All right, the lead of today's program is a vacancy report authored by the Charlottesville Office of Economic Development. This is for the month of January 2022, the month of January 2022, just released. The introduction of this report. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to take this report and I'm going to post it in the comment section of 15 Facebook pages this show is streaming upon literally right now as I'm hosting this show. So it's in the comment section of every social media platform we're watching upon. I'm going to post it in the comment section here on LinkedIn. And Judah, I'm going to add it to the thread on Twitter that this show is airing upon. Charlottesville Vacancy Report. Publish. It's everywhere now. Here's the nitty-gritty. Here's the intro for you. The City of Charlottesville's Office of Economic Development has conducted its 28th vacancy study. This report only studies properties within the Downtown Mall, Barracks Road, the UVA Corner, Preston Plaza, Seminole Square, and McIntyre Plaza. The retail property in the City of Charlottesville is showing slight signs of rebounding from the negative impacts felt since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Barracks Road Shopping Center remained the same at 9.3% vacancy. The Downtown Mall increased to 3.7% vacancy, and the corner is now at 3.28% vacancy. Seminole Square's vacancy rate went down to 12.96%. That is an astronomical amount of vacancy in Seminole Square, 12.96%. While McIntyre Plaza and Preston Plaza maintain a 0% vacancy rate. Overall, the City of Charlottesville's January 2022 vacancy rate is 5.23%, an increase since the July 2021 study, which had a vacancy rate of 5.14%. That's the introduction. I'm going to give you my take and pick this apart like Thanksgiving turkey. Vacancies in Charlottesville 2022 January versus 2021 July increased from 5.14% in July to 5.23% in January. They went up. Vacancies, empty storefront index. The Downtown Mall, here's its vacancy rate. In July 2021, the Downtown Mall had a vacancy rate of 3.21%. In January of 2022, that vacancy rate 3.7%, an uptick of nearly, basically, a half a percentage point. That's a lot. When the mall is thriving, the vacancy rate in downtown Charlottesville is pretty much 0%. No empty storefronts. You look now, and according to this report from the Charlottesville Office of Economic Development, vacant storefronts on the downtown mall include the CVille Weekly office, which has been vacant for an estimated 6 months. The weekly publication of Charlottesville, no longer an office, vacant for 6 months. 400 East Main Street, vacant for an unknown period of time. The former Alakazam store, vacant for 8 months. This was the pop-up, not the actual one. Bashir's Taverna, vacant for 9 months. The former Bank of America building, vacant for 6 months. That building has since been purchased by Tripp Stewart and his partner. So I would expect something to happen in that building. And the building is not the big Bank of America building, but where the ATM is located. The ATM building, not the big bank historic structure that once hosted Prime 109, but where the ATM is located. The second and third floors were on the market for an extended period of time. Dewberry Hotel, of course, has been vacant. Estimated vacancy for the Dewberry Hotel, according to this report, 11 years. 11 years. Fellini's, vacant for 6 months. Spring Street Studio, now located in Barracks Road, a women's clothing store, vacant for 1 year. Manchester Capitol, vacant. Silverchair, where the Urban Outfitters, vacant for an extended period of time. Now you have some replacements waiting to happen. Vita Nova is going to go across the mall to the old Impeccable Pig location. Lindsay and Eric, contractors that I trust, doing that remodel on the downtown mall. You have Java vacant, but as we explained on yesterday's show, it's going to be botanical. We'll have the story of the entrepreneur or the restaurateur behind the new restaurant slated for the Java location on Friday. She's going to join us on Friday's edition of the I Love CVille Show. I'm going to compare and contrast this vacancy rate with Barracks Road Shopping Center here in a matter of moments. I want to reiterate this. The downtown mall having a vacancy rate of 3.7% is a lot. When the economy is thriving and healthy and the pandemic is not a prevalent factor, the vacancy rate in downtown Charlottesville is basically 0%. Barracks Road Shopping Center, are you ready for this? Vacancy rates for Barracks Road. And I'm going to compare January 2021, July 2021, and January 2022 for all the shopping corridors in the city of Charlottesville. This is hopeful and positive. I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. Last year, January 2021, the downtown mall had a vacancy rate of 5.32%. I will repeat that. January 2021, according to the Charlottesville Office of Economic Development, the vacancy rate in downtown Charlottesville was 5.32%. This past January, a couple of weeks ago, that vacancy rate was 3.7%. So while it increased from this past July to this past January, it improved from two Januaries ago to the January that just transpired. Similar improvement numbers in Barracks Road. Similar improvement numbers on the corner. Similar improvement numbers on Preston Plaza, Seminole Square. The economy is improving. COVID confidence is a realistic, tangible measure of economic hope. Barracks Road, January 2021, Barracks Road had a vacancy rate of 11.49%. In January 2022, Barracks Road had a vacancy rate of 9.3%. You're talking an improvement of 2.2%, 2.19 to be exact in Barracks. Stores are coming back to Barracks and Federal Realty. The number one shopping corridor, Monique Mosier made this comment, the owner of The Happy Cook, continues and still to this day is Barracks Road. More statistics for you than I give you my take. The corner, January 2021, a vacancy rate of 4.92%. January 2022, a vacancy rate of 3.28%. That's an improvement of basically 1.6% on the UVA corner. That's substantial. Preston Plaza, the most improved vacancy rate of the shopping quarters we're highlighting. Preston Plaza had a vacancy rate in January of 2021. This is Integral Yoga, Mona Lisa Pasta, Sticks. In 2021, Preston Plaza, 25%, 1 out of 4 vacant. In January of this year, the vacancy rate of Preston Plaza, are you ready for this? Drum roll, please. Zero percent. Year over year, January 2021 versus January 2022, Preston Plaza's vacancy rate went from 25% vacant to 0% vacant. Seminole Square, year over year, 16.98% vacant to 12.96%. And McIntyre Plaza, 0% to 0%, not struggling with vacancies. So, let's dot the I's and cross the T's. A, the immediate reaction is year over year, January 2021, which were the dog days of COVID. The dog days of COVID. Fresh off the presidential election, cases, hospitalizations, infections, pandemic bananas in the winter, especially on the heels of the holidays when we get together. January 2021, it was bleak, it was ugly, it was a catalyst of negativity. January 2022, the downtown mall improves by essentially 1.6% year over year. Barracks Road improves by 2.19% year over year. The UVA corner improves by 1.6% year over year. Preston Plaza improves by 25% year over year. Seminole Square improves by 4% year over year. Positivity, hope, COVID confidence, a tangible measure for economic possibilities. Confidence spiking, increasing, upticking. No, we're not where we need to be. A healthy, proverbially and figuratively economy is a 0% vacancy rate on the downtown mall and a 0% vacancy rate on the UVA corner and in Barracks Road. Those are your three primo shopping districts in the city. We still have a long ways to go, but this is something we should realize is real, tangible, and hopeful. A couple of questions I have. I'm curious to see, in Barracks Road in particular, how rents may have been potentially held in check or diminished from a monthly rent standpoint throughout the pandemic for those tenants, especially the local ones. Did we see COVID relief for commercial rents in Barracks, especially for the local ones? Federal Realty, the owner of the shopping center, a publicly traded company, did they offer relief? Very curious about that. I have shared the vacancy link on a number of our Facebook pages, LinkedIn, and on Twitter. I would encourage you to click the links in the comment sections and study them and read them yourselves. Fascinating data. Fascinating data. Thorough analysis on these shopping districts with charts and metrics for you to learn from. You're getting this information through no other source. And I can assure you, the information will quickly penetrate legacy media after this reporting. Now, next topic. You have the picture, Judah? Lloyd Snook on this show, was it 2 Fridays ago? Let me look at my calendar here. When did Mayor Snook join us? Big fan of Mayor Snook. He knows I'm a big fan of him. I love when he comes on the show. You got it on screen? Let us know. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Everyone look at the screen now. Mayor Snook let us know that there was going to be something positive in the hopper for the Dewberry Hotel. Well, now we know what it is. Look at the screen. Everyone look at the screen. We'll post it on social media. This was February 14th, so this was legitimately 8 days ago. The Dewberry Hotel becoming a, what would you describe this as? You have your volume on?
Yeah.
This is a wrap. It's not painting. it's a wrap. Okay. You're the Savannah College of Art and Design guy.
Yeah, looks like a Kandinsky.
A what?
Kandinsky.
What is that?
He's a Russian artist.
Oh, that's what that is?
I don't think it is, but it looks kind of like his style.
Okay, so this is right up your alley. We talk about topics you're passionate about. Tell me what you see here, Savannah College of Art and Design graduate Judah Wickower. Is it still on screen?
Yeah, it's still on screen.
Keep it on screen. Look at the screen now. This is the Dewberry Hotel, the White Elephant of Charlottesville. A vacancy rate of how many years, Judah?
Was it 11?
11 years. 11 years. What do you see here?
I mean, it's clearly meant to show music, musicality. I'm not exactly sure what the point of it is, but it certainly looks better than the emptied out shell of the rest of it.
Agreed. Two-shot, Judah and Jerry. Two-shot, Judah and Jerry. Ludwig Kutner, the driving force behind this. The eccentric German real estate developer and one of the most influential landlords in the community. Interestingly, Ludwig lives on the downtown mall and can often be seen watering the gardens, the small gardens around the downtown mall, literally himself, often while wearing eccentric clothing.
Brightly colored.
Brightly colored.
Kind of like the Dewberry wrap.
Kind of like the Dewberry wrap. Well said, Judah Wickower, director. I love this Judah. Charismatic, charming, confident. I love it. While it's not the finished product we want, it's better than
steel rebar and
graffiti.
Whatever else. Well, I had a thought. I don't know if you've been down by Champion, that long wall that typically has, yard after yard after yard of
graffiti.
Graffiti. Why not set the people loose on this?
I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea.
Why not?
I appreciate your suggestion, but suggesting through our platform for citizens of Charlottesville to take spray cans to private land owners' property is not a good idea. Our attorneys do not suggest we encourage that on this platform. However, Ludwig Kutner, utilizing his influence with City Council and with Charlottesville to wrap the white elephant is not a bad idea. Carol Thorpe, the queen of Jack Jewett, says the point of it is lipstick on a pig.
How did they get approval to do this?
Because and I know this, and the reason I know this is because of the trials and tribulations here in our building, the Macklin building. President of this building, we just installed an awning and new branding for the building that took nearly 2 years. This is considered art and not signage.
No, I'm wondering how they got approval to put it up on Dewberry's building.
They reached out to Dewberry.
Oh, and he let them?
And he let them.
Kudos.
So the extorting emperor of empty lots may be showing a sign of
cooling off,
emotional empathy. I don't know if it's empathy, but open-mindedness.
I know you're fond of calling him that, and it may not be wrong, but there was maybe another side to the story when Michael Payne?
There was undoubtedly a side of the story that Lloyd Snook relayed on the show.
Yeah, Lloyd Snook.
Yeah. And we encourage everyone. In fact, if you take that I Love CVille, you can go back to the one shot. If you can go to ilovecville.com, it's still on the homepage. Take the sizzle reel we cut where Lloyd Snook is talking about the history of the Dewberry Hotel. You would just have to slide down to the lower section of the ilovecville.com homepage and put that everywhere in the comment section. Facebook, LinkedIn comment section, and on the Twitter thread of the live show. Lloyd Snook on the show 8 days ago recapped how we got to this point of the Dewberry, and he essentially called the Dewberry Hotel and its failed development the collateral damage of August 12, 2017. Mike Signer, former mayor of Charlottesville, had brokered a deal with John Dewberry, and the deal brokerage included parking spaces in the Water Street garage and tax incentives. Another former mayor, this one, Nakia Walker, while running for a spot on council, said, "No way, Jose," months after August 12, 2017, in the shadows of the darkest day in Charlottesville history. She said, "It's a travesty that we're giving a white, wealthy, out-of-town developer parking spaces and tax incentives to develop a luxury hotel that will only cater to the whites of the community." She utilized the deal that Signer was brokering with John Dewberry as a catalyst for her campaign to win a spot on council. Michael Payne, one of the key members of Nakia Walker's campaign, before Michael Payne got elected to council, he was a key member of Nakia Walker's campaign for council. Some would say her campaign manager. All this is fact. All this is fact. Payne and Walker kiboshed the Signer Dewberry deal by getting in the ears of Bobby flip-flopping Fenwick and Dr. Wes Bellamy. And as a result, the Dewberry Hotel, the white elephant of Charlottesville, now lipstick on a pig with this art wrap. Still better than nothing. Still better than nothing. Put that photo up once you get those links posted across social if you could. And make sure you include it on that Twitter thread if we could. In fact, we can get you've got it. Dude, you're doing a great job today, Judah. Excellent work, my friend. Excellent work. Alex Urpí in a matter of moments here on the program. Show is buzzing right now. Show is really buzzing. All right, let's go to the next topic. You got that photo up on screen?
Yep.
Look at the screen. Before we get off topic, look at the screen. Looks better than a rat-infested urinal for houseless individuals. It's now houseless individuals is the preferred nomenclature. Did you know that? It is no longer homeless. It's houseless individuals is the preferred nomenclature.
Because they're implying the home is the streets of their home now?
I'm not sure why it's now houseless, but homeless is frowned upon. It's houseless now. I'm trying to stay up to date with preferred nomenclatures here in our very free-flowing in its thought metropolis we call Charlottesville, Virginia. All right, Boyd Tinsley, next topic. For the first time since July 2020, Boyd Tinsley, in some ways the disgraced fiddle player. You played the fiddle, right? That was a fiddle, right?
The article said...
violinist, fiddle, all of the above?
Violinist and mandolinist.
Okay, violinist and mandolinist, thank you. Is the fiddle in the family of violin and mandolin?
I'd say the fiddle is probably in the family of the violin, probably not the mandolin.
I think the big, beautiful brain Alex Urpí might know the answer to that. Is the fiddle part of the mandolin and violin?
I think so.
I think we have Alex Urpí from the amenity-rich green room saying, "I think so" over there. I think so. We're going to welcome the Antonio Banderas of Finance to the program in about 90 seconds here.
I think they're the same instrument.
He says he thinks they're the same instrument.
The violin, I think the violin is a fiddle.
He's making us good from the green room right now while sitting in a $2,000 massage chair with his feet up and a glass of champagne in his hands and chocolate-covered strawberries on the tips of his fingers. So Tinsley, the disgraced former mandolin, fiddle, violinist of the Dave Matthews Band, post on social media for the first time since July 2020. And this post is explosive. Explosive. He starts the post by saying, "I've waited a long time to speak on this matter. I've been busy putting my life back together. Now I'm ready to say my piece and move on." It's been several years now since an individual accused me of wrongdoing. That accusation is a lie. In a nutshell, one individual, a former houseless individual who was a musician who lived in San Francisco, who busked. Do you know what the word busk means?
It means to play music on the side of the road or on the downtown mall.
Playing music on the side of the road. That's how this houseless individual in San Francisco was paying his bills. He met Boyd Tinsley, and this busker, who was a trumpeter? Is it a trumpeter?
I'd say trumpeter.
Trumpeter? A trumpeter?
I don't know.
Okay, a trumpeter. This gentleman playing a horn while not having a house, while trying to make money on the street in San Francisco. Okay, that's what it is it not? That's what it is. He meets Boyd Tinsley. Boyd Tinsley fosters a relationship through lavish gifts and disposable income bestowed upon the houseless horn player of San Francisco. This houseless horn player of San Francisco named James Frost Wynn files a lawsuit against Tinsley in May of 2018, claiming that Tinsley, and this is a family show, so I'm not going to use the exact direct terminology, but Tinsley was, pleasuring himself next to the houseless person while he lay asleep, other episodes of harassment, sexual comments, touching, and inappropriate behavior. This unfortunate circumstance, and I'm not going to offer opinion on whether this happened or not. Tinsley say it never happened. The James Frost Wynn guy said it did happen. Long story short, this led to the eventual fallout of Tinsley from the Dave Matthews Band. Then other people kind of jumped in the fray and offered similar stories. And then there's the financial circumstances between a Tinsley financial guy taking Tinsley's money, and then Tinsley trying to get that money back, and then lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. It was just a very disturbing and depressing and demoralizing time for Boyd Tinsley over the last handful of years. Mr. Tinsley, for the first time in nearly 2 years, post on social media what is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph deep in emotional perspective flip book of what transpired with the houseless horn player from San Francisco. It includes binge drinking, pinball playing, yes, pinball, depression, drug use, anxiety, ADHD, sexual harassment, lawsuit background and perspectives, and he closes by saying, I ask all of you for your support as I reclaim my life and get my groove back. Now that I've spoken, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to do what I was put on this earth to do, to play music and to rock. Thank you and much love. Read the post. Tinsley's Facebook page. You do not have to be his friend to read it. It is public and it is explosive. Kelly Lewis, welcome back to the show. Thank you for commenting. We love when you watch. The fiddle is the violin, she says.
Yeah, it's the same thing. One's for jazz, one's for country.
That's what she says. Thank you, Kelly Lewis. She's a music aficionado.
Mandolin is not the same thing.
2 other items before we get to the Antonio Banderas of Finance. We're going to do this Antonio Banderas of Finance in roughly 90 seconds total, if you want to put me on the clock, so we can get you ready for your head of the table seating here on set. I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's a Portuguese circus coming to Fashion Square Mall. You heard me correctly. There is a Portuguese international circus coming to Fashion Square Mall from, I'm looking at it literally as we speak, from March 4th to March 20th. It's called the Do Portugal International Circus.
Are they just going to fill the whole mall?
They're doing it in a tent outside
I know.
the mall.
That's what I
Outside.
figured.
You thought it was, that was a joke?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure. I didn't get it. Alex thought that was funny. It'd be hilarious if there was like llamas and tigers and like
Right.
people running through Sears in the food court
Yeah.
and Sunglass Hut and Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah.
Like Spencer's Gifts was where the lions were kept.
I'm going to go to Spencer's Gifts to see the lions and pet the goats.
I would go to Spencer's Gifts to pet the goats. That would be hilarious. Oh my God, that was funny, Judah. Tickets are, I'm being told by my better half, $15 for kids, $20 for adults. A lot of 7:30 and 5 o'clock starts on the weekends, 2 o'clock starts. Potential birthday gift or part of the birthday gift for our son. You have, it appears to be men on motorcycles or dirt bikes. You have a tent that's heated for your comfort. A Portuguese international circus. Oh, she's correcting me. Tickets range from $50 to $50 depending on where you would like to sit. Yeah, where you would like to sit. And then she says, I just knew you would not want to do the expensive seats, Jerry. That's why I said they were $15 to $20. Thank you for saying that. All right, last topic, and then we get Alex, if you want to join us here. President's Day weekend, airline travel surged to its highest level since Thanksgiving. TSA data shows some of the busiest days were this past weekend with the Monday holiday since the year-end holidays. Tickets were off the chain. TSA, Transportation Security Administration, screened nearly 8.4 million people from Friday through Monday, more than double from a year ago, but down 7.5% from the 9 million screened in 2020 before COVID. So, dude, that's getting close. 8.4 million this past President's Day weekend versus 9 million the President's Day weekend before the pandemic. COVID confidence. COVID confidence. Are we on? Let's go a 3-shot with you in the mix, and then Alex Urpí, the Antonio Banderas of finance. Is he on screen, J-Dubs?
Not yet.
Okay, he's about to be on screen. This guy is the CEO of Emergent Financial Services, the co-host of Today y Mañana, which airs Thursdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille Network, and just our friend, a bright, brilliant, kind, patient, well-read, well-written, knowledgeable human being.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And also, I've noticed he's on screen, now making many appearances on NBC 29.
Oh yeah, they
Very nice.
called us yesterday.
On
It was a lot of
inflation.
fun on inflation.
Yeah.
Just to talk a little bit about it, what we're seeing, what financial planning clients are seeing. It's an important topic.
Okay, so I got a lot I want to bring up with you. I want to talk some Russia and Ukraine and the stock market. I want to talk Portuguese circuses and llamas and women in tights on tight ropes in Spencer's Gifts in Fashion Square Mall. A lot to cover. Where do you want to start? Anything on your mind first?
That sounds like fun. I mean, the price tag is big, but maybe they're really good being from Portugal.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the Portuguese circus is, but just the fact that they came here from Portugal is kind of neat.
Is the best use of Fashion Scare Mall now a Portuguese circus, Alex Urpí?
True, I mean, I think Judah was dead, and like it might be so empty inside that you could put
The whole circus
The
in
whole
the mall?
circus
That's
in
what you're
there.
alluding to, Judah?
Yeah, pretty much.
I thought that was hilarious, Judah Wickower.
That was, but who knows? I mean, I think it's not that there was a circus there also. I think this past winter.
Was it a circus or was it a fair?
A fair, you're right. It was
Yeah,
a fair.
or like
It
a
was
mini, like,
had those,
carnival.
like the Ferris
Ferris
wheel,
wheel.
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that is often there. Okay, so let me throw this to you here. COVID confidence.
Oh, it definitely
Vacancy
is.
rates improving. President's Day weekend air travel. 8.4 million tickets versus the 9 million of President's Day weekend before the pandemic started. It's upticking. It's picking up.
That's what we want to see. I mean, this is good news because you want movement and activity to begin to catch up, right? So that we can hopefully get the economy back to where we were pre-COVID. Because let's face it, we haven't growth-wise, we're not there yet. In other words, I mean, it feels good because, of course, the dramatic nature of the decline from the shutdown really dragged down GDP, and the GDP took a big rebound. But it's easy to forget that rebounding 94%, 95% still means a 5% recession, relatively speaking. So it would be nice to get all the way back from that, just to see things start humming again and see what happens from there.
Let me throw this to you here, and no one wants to have this conversation, but I just got to ask it anyway because I learned from you. Is the R word recession, is that a fear?
So it's always a concern, right? Because let's face it, the economy, as much as we would like to believe that we can micromanage the economy and prevent it from ever happening, I think 2008 was a very clear sign you cannot prevent these things from happening all the time. The economy is the nature of economic growth to ebb and flow. And let's be real, we have not had a recession, like an actual economic recession not caused by government decisions related to a pandemic. We have not had an actual recession since 2008. Now, historically speaking, that is a very long time, right? And so it's something you have to think about. I'm not necessarily seeing that, oh my goodness, we're going to have one now and it's finally coming. The pandemic throws so much of a wrench into things. But I think it's important for people to always keep in mind, like, just because we have a Federal Reserve and just because we have a government that takes a very strong interest in the economy, and we have unemployment insurance, and we have a lot of regulations, doesn't mean that somehow we are magically recession-proof. I think that, as many people point out, ever since we created the Federal Reserve in 1913, we've had a lot of very big recessions and depressions after that. And so it's entirely possible, and it's something to be aware of, but it doesn't mean you have to, freak out about it or assume that it's always coming around the corner. It's just something to be watchful of and take a look at.
Because this is why I'm going to bring it up like this. We got, and I'm an optimist. Mm-hmm. I'm not fearful of the R word, certainly not yet. I think from a Charlottesville and Central Virginia standpoint, we're very much insulated as well with UVA here. And let's cut to the chase. UVA is admitting more students this coming fall than they've ever had in the history of the school. They're hiring more people to accommodate the admitted extra students, so they'll have more people on staff and more students on staff, and more students in the school. And we have a new school and the data science school on the near horizon from opening. We got Dr. Chabra's ortho facility, state-of-the-art, world-class, on Ivy Road that has now had its grand opening. We get a lot of positivity cooking. Mm-hmm. I'm going to look at the other side for the sake of a talk show. We got a lot of red in the first 45 days. I think the NASDAQ as of this morning was down year to date 13%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the S&P, was it 8-9%?
Yeah, not quite correction territory.
Yeah.
We hit it for a moment.
Right.
But then it rebounded slightly.
Dow 6. Okay. On top of that, and certainly some of the drivers of that red, is the inflation, the labor shortages, the supply chain, and the pullback on stimulus money, where we don't have disposable income that we can just, shoot the proverbial you-know-what with on Robinhood, on Merrill, on any of these brokerage accounts. So we got some tightening happen.
Yep.
On top of that, we're having a potential, not housing crisis, maybe you call it a crisis, with no inventory out there and prices escalating out of the wazoo, cost of goods for new construction going up, red tape associated with municipalities higher than ever before. 24% the cost of a new home is associated with red tape and not labor or actual wood or granite or appliances. And then compounding it is Ukraine-Russia.
Yeah.
And if this Ukraine-Russia thing wasn't on the other opposite side of the world, it would very much be much more a part of all our vocabularies and vernaculars and conversations.
Oh,
because it's on the other side of the world, and half of us don't even know where the hell Ukraine is, or can't even name the Ukraine president, or even know what's going on. We're kind of oblivious to it outside of some headlines on the ticker on our TV screen. But that's a lot of proverbial stuff happening all at once.
A lot of headwinds.
Okay.
A lot of headwinds.
That to you, anywhere you want to go.
No, I think, and the important thing to think about there is, yes, It's far away from us geographically, but you cannot underestimate the impact of a serious conflict there in terms of Europe. Europe is very much affected by what happens there because, especially with U.S. pulling back on our oil supply, Russia is where Europe gets its gas from at this point. They did a significant amount of their gas, natural gas as well, from Russia. So that's a significant issue there, and a lot of that comes through, I believe some major pipelines come through the Ukraine in terms of Europe. And as we know, Europe, they certainly buy some things from us. We export to Europe. There are significant impacts there in terms of supply chain going forward. And so it is important that those are the types of scare events. You don't want to call them black swans, so the black swan is the thing that you can't predict, but external factors that put pressure on the market, on the economy, on people's psyche that can affect, it can be a significant headwind on top of the fact that we are not seeing really a great growth momentum here. Inflation is just a damper. I mean, there's no denying inflation is a damper on our ability to grow because it makes people cautious to spend. Like you're spending a lot of your money on not increased productivity or increased quality of goods or increased quality of life. You're spending on the fact that your dollar is just worth less.
You're just trying to survive.
You're just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And like you said, one of the key things you mentioned is that a lot of the costs that make up a significant part of people's budget are up more than that headline number. So I mean, if real estate, just the RA, right? If real estate, rent is that much more expensive, is skyrocketing to this degree.
We can't help the coffee shops or the restaurants.
Exactly. Especially because that's your non-discretionary part, right? That's not the part that you can say, let me cut down 10% on my rent. It doesn't work that way. Your rent it is what it is. You can't go to your landlord and say, 10% off.
Yeah.
You give me a discount on my rent. It doesn't work that way.
I'm going to eat the knockoff brand of Cheerios instead of the Honey Nut Cheerios. I'm going to go with the Wegmans brand. You can't do that with rent.
You can't do that with rent. You can't say, can I give you back 10 square feet of my house? You can take that little corner of my home and charge me 90% of the rent. It doesn't work. You can't do that. So those are very significant costs for the average person. And they are headwinds because when that goes up in an unproductive way, in other words, you're paying more, but you're not getting more out of it, then you have to cut down in other areas. You really have no choice. That's what people have no choice but to do. And that can affect your consumption. That affects the economy. So there's a lot of headwinds. And granted, there's tailwinds too. Like you said, the ability, the comfort level of people to go out has obviously resulted in more businesses being able to open and sustain their opening here, but like you said, with the vacancy rates coming down dramatically.
Airline,
airfare, the hospitality, and even just translating to small business. I mean, those are typically small businesses. You mentioned Preston, a lot of times in Barracks Mall. Sometimes they can be national change, but that's strip along Preston.
Preston Plaza's all local.
Preston Plaza's all local.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. That's what you want to see.
So that's what I was trying to do here, and I understand the influence we have here. So I was trying to describe what I'm seeing first with the positive outcomes. Mm-hmm. So in coaching, like racket sport coaching, the methodology some of these squash coaches, tennis coaches are utilizing is praise, polish, praise. So it's positivity, polish, ways to improve, positivity. So I try to live by a praise, polish, praise mindset. Praise, vacancy rates are going down. Praise, airfare, tickets are being sold. We're 600,000 away from where we were before the pandemic. Polish, what is the impact Russia-Ukraine is going to have here? How much longer does it happen? Are we going to go to gas tanks around Charlottesville and get hit with $4 gas soon? Is the government going to respond in some way to alleviate that pressure in the short term? And do you expect more volatility in the markets? And when does that volatility start to erode or counterbalance the COVID confidence?
It's difficult to say because a lot of this depends on, like you just said, the length of time that we're talking about. Because short-term impacts, and then we've used this example with inflation as well. Short-term, right, you get prices go up 7% today, and then they don't go up anymore. You can handle that. It's the long-term 7% month after month after month. Like you keep looking a year back and, it's 7% higher than a year ago. Still 7% higher than a year ago. That's what can really drag on the economy. That's what I'm hoping that we don't continue to see. Another positivity I would put in terms of volatility, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. And what I mean by that is part of a lack of volatility, right? If you think about a classic asset bubble, right? That looks very calm the whole time it's going up, right? And if you think about like the housing bubble, and the stock market before them, it's up, pop the bubble, down like an escalator, right? Or an elevator, I should say. Up like an escalator, down like an elevator. To see volatility like this with corrections is not necessarily unhealthy because we know the market's going to go up over time, but sometimes it can relieve that pressure, right? You say, all right, let me do that a little. Let me take a few days. And you see people say, let me do that a little. Let me take a few days. And that, I think my brother actually, Nicholas, just told me today that I think a large percentage of the time, and he'd know the precise number that he told me, a large percentage of the time when the market is down in January, it's actually green the rest of the year historically. And so I think that what that goes to show you is sometimes alleviating that pressure in an early months and saying, you know what, it's time to take some gains. It's time to pull back a little. Things are not super rosy all the time. We don't have an endless slush fund of Federal Reserve money being pumped into the system is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's very rare, I would say, that stock market crashes precipitate and lead to economic fallout. It's usually the reverse. Economic issues hit the stock market and crash. Probably since, I think, 1929. So basically the Depression is probably the last time you can look and say that a stock market crash began to lead to like Main Street economic fallout, right? Usually it's the other way around. And we're not quite seeing, I don't think, like you and I say, we look around at the economy, particularly Charlottesville, and I'm not seeing the signs of Main Street fallout.
It's inverted now. So guys, during COVID, we were talking about this show, and this was the deepest, darkest days of COVID. We were talking about how the divide between Main Street and Wall Street was so significant. Like during COVID, big box, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Target, they went bananas, while Main Street took it on the chin and suffered. Now we're coming out of COVID, and COVID confidence is a tangible thing that I'm seeing in downtown Charlottesville, where I'm seeing more people than ever before. I'm seeing the restaurants full. My wife, my son, and I were at Guadalajara on Sunday, and it was freaking standing room only packed.
Oh,
Saturday, we were
beautiful.
at Three Notch, it was standing room only packed. Wait at the hostess stand. I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen it, but it's inverted. When in the deepest, darkest days of COVID, Wall Street was kicking, you know what? Gangbusters. Main Street was struggling. Now, coming out of COVID, COVID confidence is leading to Main Street, the downtown mall, West Main, Preston Plaza, going gangbusters.
Looking better.
And the alternative is happening with Wall Street. What the heck is going on?
I think it shows you the divide that is happening in terms of that the economic fortunes of Wall Street and the economic fortunes of Main Street are no longer have the same level of connectivity. They no longer move in concert. They can separate. Now that doesn't mean there's no impact one to the other, right? If you think about Wall Street, I mean, if Wall Street crashes, right? The retirees' 401k drops, the ability of them to spend declines, right? Because you can't have, if you get a 30% drop in your portfolio and you're a retiree, the amount that you can pull out of that portfolio on a monthly basis drops, which means you can spend less. So it's not like it doesn't have any impact at all, but I think, again, what we're seeing is there's so much financialization, there was so much gain to Wall Street when the Federal Reserve was pumping money, and you could basically, as a company, you borrow from the Fed at nothing, and then you invest it in your own stock and get your own 3% dividend plus gains. You're sitting there saying, that's easy money. And
you can't lose,
right? And of course, that's not accessible to Main Street. You and I, as a small business, we can't go to the Federal Reserve and borrow at 0%. It's not happening. We can't borrow at 0 and then go invest in the stock market. You and I go to get a loan, we're getting a significant interest rate, on that loan. But these very large companies in Wall Street literally go to the Federal Reserve, which, yes, it's not the government, but it's essentially a functionary of it, right? To go to the Federal Reserve, essentially get 0% interest, some very low dollar interest amount, and then go put that money back in the stock market. And that boosted us. There's no denying, I don't think anyone would dispute economics-wise that in the 2010s, that was happening big time. And that was a very significant reason why from 2010 to 2017, and then from 2020, 2021, the stock market just took off, even while you could see that there was tangible suffering in the economy. And what we're seeing now, I think, is exactly what you said, the reverse. The Fed is tightening the spigot, right? They're threatening to tighten, because remember, even though they haven't raised rates yet, they are tapering, which means they are buying less bonds, right? And at some point, they will stop reinvesting entirely, is the expectation. And that pulls money out, particularly of the system that a lot of the larger companies, banks rely upon. So they are feeling a little bit of the pinch. There's less that free money to go around in that system, so they are seeing some volatility, whereas Main Street, which does not rely on that, is sitting there saying, you know what, our big problem was nobody was going out to eat, nobody was flying on airplanes, nobody was going to hotels, nobody was buying at local stores. That's beginning to go away. And you see, and I think it also helps, you're seeing cities and areas say, you know what, it's time to get back to a semblance of normal. And I think that has done a long way for people to say, you know what, it is time. Right? It's time for me to recognize that this is endemic and that I'm going to have to learn to live with COVID, because I'm not going to destroy it by staying home and being all by myself and not going out. And I think that's where you're seeing the dichotomy. The Main Street, which got crushed, is now saying, you know, we're going out there again. And Wall Street, which had a lot of free money coming into it, is now saying, where's the free money? And where's the free money to sustain the very high price earnings ratios? I think that's a key part of this, right? You sit there, it's one thing when you got a bunch of free money coming in to have PE ratios 30, 40, 50, 60, and what I mean by PE ratio, that means like the price of the stock is 40 times higher
than the earnings of the company.
The earnings per share of the company. And that's an insane number to see. And sure, when free money's coming in, it's justifiable, because that means someone else is always going to buy it. There's always someone out there with cash who's ready to buy that stock. But when the free money turns off and people say, now that I'm holding this stock and the price isn't going up because there's free money, is it really worth 60 times earnings anymore? Especially if it's not paying me a dividend to hold it, and now suddenly bonds are maybe become a little more attractive. The Federal Reserve raises rates instead of 0.5%, 0.6%. Maybe I'll get 1, maybe I'll get 2, depending how long I go. Maybe I don't need this 1% dividend from a company. Maybe I can get 2% in the bond market. And if you see that swap, then the stocks decline, because people no longer feel like they're forced into stocks because bond rates are at 0% interest rates. So I think that's a lot of what we're seeing, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it will have impact. Certain people will be impacted more than others. But on the flip side, as much as retirees might get hit by 401ks declining, they may get helped by the fact that, of course, a lot of times most of your portfolio when you're retired should be in bonds, because it's got to be very safe. And so if bonds can yield you more, even just slightly more, you might be sitting there saying, you know what, hey, all right, I'm a little better off now. Because typically when you're retired, you're no longer borrowing, you've saved, you're receiving the interest. And you might see those seniors say, you know what, okay, I can at least get a little something back in my investments, considering that everything I'm paying is more expensive with inflation.
Alex Urpí, guys, fantastic knowledge right there from Antonio Banderas of Finance. Alex Urpí, CEO of Emergent Financial Services. What's your take on the, and we'll get to Carol's, CT, your comment here. Put it back on screen, the Dewberry picture, because this guy's got a mind for art as well. Carol says this, it's back on screen, look at the screen, she's the queen of Jack Jewett. In whose favor does the lipstick work on the pig? By making the pig less unsightly, does it take some pressure off city council to resolve the situation, as well as make the owner seem benevolent by allowing it to be covered? Citizens may win in the short term with less of an eyesore, but beware the unintended consequences of lipstick on a pig.
That's a great point.
Carol Thorpe,
that
well
makes
done.
sense. I mean, like historically, that's the meaning of lipstick on a pig, right? In other words, you haven't really solved the problem. The pig is still a pig. It's still ugly. It's still not helping you. It's still eating you out of house and home, right? But hey, maybe it looks slightly less ugly because there's lipstick on it. In other words, it's a short-term solution to what is essentially a long-term problem. I mean, you did a third world building, and now it's a second world building.
I mean,
it's
maybe 2.75.
2.75.
Yeah.
So you sit there, and it's still a sign of something gone wrong. It's just supposed to make you feel slightly less bad about it.
Katie Pearl says, so knowledgeable. Thank you, Alex Urpí.
Oh, thank you, Katie.
Katie, we love you. And is the word that Katie may be coming back soon?
I hope. Oh, we don't have Katie. We should have Katie back on. We got to talk some Cuban.
We would love Katie Pearl's perspective here. I mean, when it comes down to it, guys, and Carol Thorpe makes a good comment, and I want your take in here on this, on anything you want to cover if you want to go on the third shot. And I'm going to engage you with some questions and some conversation here as well. Look, Carol makes a really good point. We still have a structure that's empty.
Yep.
That, for the most part, is the rat-infested urinal of 20 to 30, 40, 50 people that patronize Charlottesville and enjoy the Dewberry for cover during inclement weather. We'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And now at a time when the budget is at a tight standstill, and we're considering $75 million for Buford and another $25 million for Walker, the revenue that could have been generated from John Dewberry's luxury hotel, the tax revenue would have been utilized to narrow an educational gap and to drive momentum behind equity with the under-resourced population in Charlottesville when it comes to schools. Unfortunately, we have a current, and I have tremendous respect for you, Michael Payne, you know I do, and Nakia Walker utilized this hotel as a springboard to get elected. And that's literally what happened. And now we're scrambling around for pennies and nickels and quarters and dollars to fund school reconfiguration when this one would have provided significant revenue for this project. So Carol makes a good point. Anything you would like to add on any topic? Art, downtown mall. Alex Urpi, I'm going to get your take on Today y Mañana Thursdays and your take on anything in this topic as well.
Is there a way back to the table with these guys? I mean,
with Dewberry?
Yeah, or is that bridge, fully and irrevocably burned? I mean, the guy can't just want to leave it there forever. I mean, maybe it's like spending $100 somewhere to him, so maybe he doesn't care. 65
G's a year in taxes on that.
That he pays on
that? He pays $65K to the city of Charlottesville for the white elephant.
I'm sure the preference would be to actually build something than to, go around with Jerry calling him
the extorting emperor of empty lots. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But is there a way back?
Which I've heard that's gotten back to him.
Is there a way back to the bargaining table? Have we we have an all new city council and mayor, and is there some type of olive branch or not appeasement? I don't mean to say that we should start giving him all the tax breaks he wants or whatever. Mm-hmm. But is there something that we could do to entice him back to talk about what we can do to get this thing finished?
I hate to say this. I'm going to get Alex's take on this here. If there's a guy on council that can broker this deal, I think it's Lloyd Snook. And I think while Lloyd Snook has said on this show he is not mindful of his legacy, I think knowing Mayor Snook as I do, he does consider his legacy. And that's why Mayor Snook really wanted to be mayor. That's why he made it very clear he wanted to be mayor toward the latter parts of Nakia Walker's time on council. And he got elected 3-2. And he now has less than 2 years left on council as mayor. And I'll cut to the chase, and he will agree with this as well. Mayor Snook is no spring chicken anymore. So the likelihood of another 4 years after this 4 years is up the likelihood is not super great. Okay, it's not super great because they're 4-year terms. So I would not be surprised, and perhaps we should encourage, respectfully, him to prioritize the Dewberry in some capacity. And I hate to say this because I'm a free market guy. I know you're a free market guy as well. This guy who grew up in Waynesboro, who played quarterback for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who now lives in Atlanta, John Dewberry, is going to need a significant incentivized package to get off his tail to make this happen. He already was pretty much offered a package by Mike Signer, a package that he agreed to, a package that if it wasn't for August 12th would have been reality, and we would have an unbelievably awesome hotel in the downtown mall. He's going to say, I need something similar to this that you guys were willing to give me, if not better, to do something here. Because I'll cut to the chase, he's got all the leverage. Because he's deep-pocketed, and $65,000 a year in taxes for him is not $65,000 a year for the three of us. No. Anything you want to add to this, Alex Urpí?
I think that's the issue, right? The leverage, given what has become of of that shell of a building, the leverage is his at this point, right? Because it is more of a blight to Charlottesville than it is to him. Because 65,000.
He doesn't live here.
He doesn't live here. Yeah. Plus, the 65,000 is also not significant, especially when you consider that he has to put more money in to get this hotel to be finished, right? Particularly since we don't know the shape. In other words, is that foundation, is what is left of that hotel having been exposed to the elements for what, 10 plus years
11
now?
years.
11
Even
years
usable.
now. In other words, can you actually just go in there and finish that thing, or do you need to make significant improvement to what is currently there before it actually would be able to become a hotel at this point? I mean, I'm not enough of a construction guy to know what that entails. But so, I mean, he's going to have to put money in. And let's face it, looking at that hotel, you're talking probably millions, right, that he has to put in to complete that building.
Tens of millions.
Tens of millions.
Yeah.
So him looking at $65,000 a year, he's going to be like, this is more, like, that's nothing to me, but you guys have to deal with this thing sitting here looking terrible, right? So unfortunately, we're at that point. This, to me, seems a lot like the sunk cost of the baseball player analogy. In other words, you paid, I'm going to use A-Rod, I was a Yankee guy, right? You pay A-Rod at some point. A-Rod, you're paying him $30 million a year. He's not very good, right? You'd have two choices. You can either say, I can't go out and get another third baseman because I'm paying A-Rod $30 million a year and I'm stuck with this. So I'm just going to put him out there even though he stinks and run with this. Or you say, you know what? A-Rod's $30 million is a sunk cost. I've lost that $30 million. If it costs me another 20 to go get a new third baseman so that my team is better, I'm going to go do it. And from a Charlottesville perspective, like I said, we're free market guys. But we may have to sit there at some point and say, you know what? The opportunity that we had is sunk, right, to get this at a deal that maybe was beneficial to us. But is it better to have a deal with him in a hotel there than nothing?
Exactly right.
In other words, yeah, maybe costly. Yeah, he might come back and say, give me a better tax break than you had last time.
Exactly right.
I mean, to be honest, if I was him, that's kind of what I would do.
That's exactly what I would do.
If I was unscrupulous.
If you were him,
I would be pained to do it, but like if I was just a pure business owner and looking at it just from a business perspective,
right.
I'd be like, you know what, you guys, I agreed to this deal. You guys screwed me over last time. I'm going to say, you know what, give me something more.
He's got no ties to Charlottesville. He doesn't even walk by this. He doesn't care about his reputation in this town. He lives in Atlanta. He is exactly right, Alex Urpí. He is exactly right. And I hate to say this, we are beyond pot committed. And it's time that we re-up and put some more chips on the table that get this done. And no, it doesn't set a precedent for other developers. It remedies a crappy situation that was created by August 12th.
Oh, exactly. You can't, my mother often will use a phrase saying like, cut your nose off to spite your face.
Yes.
It's like you can't say to hurt him, I'm going to hurt myself more. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, because it's now the under-resourced population that's going to suffer because we don't have the money for school reconfiguration. So we're going to have to raise the tax rate, gentrify the community, and when configuration is done, the under-resourced population is going to be pushed out of the municipality. And that's unfortunate, but that's real life. In about 20 seconds here, and then we got to close for our call that was supposed to happen 30 seconds ago. I texted the client. Fortunately, we're in good graces here. Today y mañana.
actually 4 great guests. So we're going to have on Matthias John. He's from Wiley Property.
Okay.
He's going to come on, talk about Wiley, what they do, and so forth. We're going to have
Fantastic.
back David McCormick from the Charlottesville Chamber Music Festival. Is going to come back, talk about little things that are going on, and then we're going to have on both Carol and Stephanie from the Charlottesville Scholarship Program. It's something near and dear to my heart. They're going to talk about the upcoming deadline to apply for Charlottesville Scholarship Program to get the scholarships to go to 4-year college, as well as opportunities for people to be navigators, to really work with some of the students from Charlottesville High School as they go into their 4-year journeys. A lot of them are the first in their family to go to college, so you can sort of mentor them, be with them. So we're going to have them on Thursday at 10:15 today mañana.
He is a talented man. Alex Urpí, CEO, Emergent Financial Services, co-host of Today y Mañana, Thursdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille Network. Judah Wickhauer, Alex Urpí, I'm Jerry. Thank you for joining us. We will see you tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Hasta luego. All done.
Thank you. That was fun.